downfall was the most deserved. There was this guy in my apartment building named Connor, who everyone thought was some kind of genius therapist. He was maybe 29, always wore these thick black glasses, and had this calm voice that made you want to trust him immediately. His TikTok had like 200,000 followers where he'd sit in front of this massive bookshelf talking about trauma and healing and inner child work. I met him at a building barbecue and mentioned I'd been stressed about work. He handed me his card right there. I do consultations, $75 an hour. I can help you process what's really going on beneath the surface. My neighbor Ashley had been seeing him for 3 months. She'd show me his texts sometimes, these long paragraphs about her attachment style and fear of abandonment. She thought he was changing her life. What none of us knew was that Connor had dropped out of community college after 1 semester, never took a single psychology class. He'd just learned the language from Instagram therapists and Reddit posts, then started calling himself a mental health coach. Technically legal since he never claimed to be licensed, but completely messed up. He'd tell people their depression was actually just limiting beliefs. He told Ashley her anxiety attacks were her ego protecting her from success. When another girl in the building, Jordan, told him about her intrusive thoughts, he said it was her subconscious trying to communicate and she should lean into them. Jordan had OCD. That advice could have destroyed her. Connor made serious money off this. He had maybe 30 regular clients, all paying $75 a session. He'd meet them at coffee shops or do Zoom calls from his apartment. He drove a Tesla and was always talking about expanding his practice. Everything fell apart because of a woman named Valerie who lived on the 4th floor. She'd been seeing Connor for 2 months, paying him every week to talk about her childhood stuff. She kept getting worse though, having panic attacks in the hallway, calling in sick to work constantly. Her sister finally convinced her to see an actual therapist, a licensed one with a degree on the wall. During their first session, Valerie mentioned some techniques Connor had taught her. The real therapist's face went white. Connor had told Valerie to stop taking her prescribed medication because it was blocking her authentic emotions. He told her that her traumatic memories were just stories she was choosing to believe. The therapist reported him to the state board immediately. Even though Connor wasn't licensed, they could still investigate for fraud and practicing without credentials. But Connor was arrogant. He thought because he had followers and clients who loved him that he was untouchable. When a small mental health podcast reached out for an interview about online coaching, he jumped at the chance. He saw it as free publicity. I watched the episode live on YouTube. The host seemed friendly at first, asking softball questions about his approach and philosophy. Connor was relaxed, doing his whole calm guru thing. Then the host asked, "So which licensing board oversees your practice?" Connor froze for just a second. "I'm a coach, not a therapist, so I'm not required to be licensed." "Right, but you do diagnose people with specific disorders, correct? I've seen your posts about identifying narcissistic personality disorder and bipolar traits." "Well, I help people recognize patterns." "Can you explain the diagnostic criteria for borderline personality disorder?" Connor stammered through an answer that was completely wrong. Anyone who'd taken Psych 101 would have known it. The host didn't let up. They pulled up screenshots of Connor's advice to clients, things he'd posted publicly, one where he told someone to cut off their entire family because they were toxic, another where he said someone's suicidal thoughts were just their higher self trying to break through. The clips from that interview spread everywhere within 6 hours, not because it was funny, but because people realized how dangerous he was. The comments were full of his former clients saying he'd made them worse. One guy said Connor had convinced him to quit therapy and stop his meds. Another woman said he'd charged her $300 for a program that was just a Google Doc with quotes from other people's posts. Within a week, Connor had deleted every social media account. His TikTok went dark, his Instagram disappeared,